And there is so much to get to now with my guest tonight. He is the governor of the great state of Maryland. Governor Wes Moore is up late with us tonight here on the Final Five. Governor, thank you for taking some time and joining us here.
It's my pleasure. Good to see you.
So much going on right now. I want to get, first of all, to the government shutdown. You spoke out right after the government shutdown a week ago. You governed a state that has one of the highest concentrations of federal workers in the country. You talked about a loan program earlier this week. How else is Maryland working to help these affected federal workers?
Yeah, I mean, the reality is we shouldn't be shut down right now. I was praying that Washington would be able to do its basic function and keep the government open, something that the state manages to do, something that our families manage to do, where they've managed to balance their own family budgets. But Washington finds it difficult to perform basic functions now. And so one thing that we did was we said we were not going to leave Marylanders behind. So the same day that we had that the federal government decided to shut down, that we ordered that we'd be working with the private sector to make sure that they were not going to be doing evictions and not going to be doing utility shutoffs to federal government workers during this time. That we told our federal government workers and the people of our state that the state would for as long as we can, cover down on federal support such as things like SNAP and TANF and Medicaid, and not kicking people off of Medicaid. That we are now, as a state, ensuring that we are not going to have these huge spikes to premiums for healthcare, that the rest of the country is going to be able to see that Maryland is going to do our part to make sure we're keeping healthcare affordable in people, and also that we're going to make sure that we're continue to do things like our Feds to Eds initiative and giving federal workers a chance to do things like go inside of our classrooms and our hospitals and making sure we can cut the red tape and do it quickly. So we are really focusing on supporting our federal workers, supporting the people of Maryland, because while the federal government is saying that you're on your own, the state of Maryland, we're saying we leave no one behind.
So Maryland, obviously, in the Congress has an almost entirely Democratic delegation, with the exception of Congressman Harris. And do you believe that those members of Congress are hearing your concerns and not just worried about these federal workers, but the impact this could have on small businesses that often rely on federal workers to keep things going?
Yes, in fact, I was with many members of our federal delegation this morning at BWI Airport, because we were surrounded by people who were working at BWI Airport, whether they were air traffic controllers, whether they were people who were keeping the airport clean, whether they were people who were focusing on the safety of people inside of BWI or making sure that there were food options. And the one theme for many of the people who we met with when we were at BWI was that many of them right now are going unpaid. That these are just public servants. These are patriots who are doing their job because they know how important the job is, but literally they're going there without a paycheck. And yesterday I heard the president of the United States say that he's going to try to make sure they don't get their back pay for the work that they're doing on behalf of the people. And so I'm very clear with all the members, and I know that our members of our delegation, whether you're looking at the bill that was introduced by Senator Alsobrooks or Congresswoman Elfreth, the work that Senator Van Hollen was doing, or Congressman Fume or Congressman Olszewski, to make sure that we can do two things at once. One, we've got to get this federal government reopened, and two, we've got to make sure we're protecting healthcare for the people of our state, so we're not watching people kicked off of their healthcare roles, or watching anywhere from a 70 to a 95% increase in their premiums. That should not be a prerequisite of getting the government back open.
So you're doing what you can on the state level, but people often view government as a monolith, regardless of whether it's federal, state, local, whatever. Are you concerned that people look at this and think that government is inherently broken when the federal government can shut down just like that?
Well, we're saying that I'm convinced that Washington is broken, but I'm not concerned about who's going to get the blame. I just want to make sure that our people are taken care of. Just this past weekend, I was in Western Maryland, and I was speaking to our folks in Allegheny and Garrett County who had their federal disaster emergency relief denied, despite having historic floods. Where I was speaking with the mayor of Westernport, a remarkable woman named Judy Hamilton, who's actually a Republican, who endorsed me when I announced I was running for re-election, whose budget is $2 million, but has about $30 million of damage. And the federal government denied any support that's going to go to Western Maryland. That just yesterday, I was over in the Eastern Shore, and we were talking with families who are now watching, where we've seen with this most recent federal budget that about $250 million was just cut from rural hospitals in Maryland alone, and how the Eastern Shore is going to get a huge hit from that, despite the fact that we just invested in the new Regional Shore Hospital, which is the first hospital investment that the state is helping to take on that we've now seen in generations. And so it's just deeply frustrating that right now, not only is Washington completely dysfunctional and broken, but they're spending more time pointing fingers than actually helping to work and support people. And so I know that in this time, I don't have the space nor time nor energy to play the game that Washington is playing. That we've got to make sure that we are protecting our people, defending our people, particularly when we see that the assault that has happened on the state of Maryland is not new. We have now seen this for the past 9 months.
And when you talk about finger pointing, the White House is also, as we all well know and you well know, over the last month or so, talking about what's happening in cities like Baltimore. Yourself, Mayor Scott, have pointed out, and rightfully so, Baltimore, where you are, it's a city that marked the lowest homicide rate in about 50 years. But we're seeing what's happening in Chicago right now, where you have, despite Governor Pritzker and Mayor Johnson's opposition, they're sending the Texas National Guard into there. Are you still worried that could be a concern for Baltimore, that President Trump may look at what's happening and saying, I'm going to take on Baltimore, I'm going to take on Wes Moore next?
Yeah, I mean, it's deeply disturbing seeing how the president continues to have this fetish with people in uniform. This hyperpolarization of the military, and I served in uniform. I wore these uniforms. I defended this country overseas. I led soldiers in combat. And one thing I never did or even imagined could happen is this hyper politicization of the people in uniform. Because one question I never once asked, my soldiers, is what's your political party? And never once did I ever believe that we will be pitting state versus state in our country with the usage of our military. And so it is deeply troubling and deeply problematic that we are now seeing how National Guards are being mobilized in a very nonsensical way against our own individual citizens, despite the fact that the commanders in chiefs of the National Guards are saying we can produce results and actually have performance without being performative. But that's seemingly falling on deaf ears from the White House.
So when they say that bringing the National Guard into D.C., and I'm still seeing National Guard troops here in D.C. right now, when they say it's working elsewhere, that to you is a non-starter, that would not work in cities like Baltimore?
It's also not true. I mean, the National Guard has taken more selfies than made arrests. The National Guard has painted more fences than they have actually done drug busts. The National Guard is picking up more bags of trash than they are actually conducting policing operations. And it's so disrespectful to the members of the National Guard. It's so disrespectful to them and to their family members, because we have to remember the members of the National Guard, these are citizen soldiers. These are people who have other jobs, who have families back at home, and are now being deployed at a clip, by the way, costing the taxpayer well over $1 million a day to do work that, frankly, they should not be the ones performing it. That's why we have local law enforcement. It's why I've made historic investments in local law enforcement in Maryland. It's why we've been able to make historic investments in technology and predictive analytics and drive historic results when it comes to a drop of crime in Maryland, where Maryland's amongst the fastest drops in violent crime anywhere in the United States of America. I know how to do this job. As chief executives, we know how to get the job done and produce results without being performative. And that's the only ask that we have of the president. If you want to partner with us, we would love to partner with you, but do it in a serious way and not in a way that just feels like a fetish for people who wear uniforms.
I have one more question. It's unrelated to anything we've just talked about, but it's something that's of intense interest to people in Prince George's County. We have not talked to you since City Council approved the RFK Stadium redevelopment. You've talked about what you would like to see at Northwest Stadium on that site in the future once the Commanders come back to D.C. What does that look like in your mind?
Well, first I say I'm happy for a lot of the Commanders fans who wanted to see the move back to D.C. And that includes many of my family members, by the way, who are very happy that it's going back to RFK, because I know some of their favorite memories of the Commanders were not in Landover, but we're in RK. But the thing I will tell the people of Prince George's County and the people of Maryland is this: is that we're going to work together with local leadership. We're going to work together with the community. We're going to work together with the new ownership group of the Commanders. And my commitment is that the future of that land will be better than the present of the land. Because right now we have 200 acres that are used about 8 times a year for a couple hours. Yeah. That's what the land is right now. My vision, and I think what a shared vision we have, is that we want to properly utilize those 200 acres. One that the community can benefit from, where you can drive economic growth, where you can have a live, work, play type of philosophy for how you can think about that area. And I think it presents a really unique and great opportunity for Prince George's County and for the state of Maryland. So I'm happy for the Commanders fans who wanted to go to RFK, but more importantly, I'm happy for the Marylanders and the folks in Prince George's County who are about to look at a better future than what they're even seeing from the president right now.
Out of time. I would like to talk more about the Ravens season right now, but I guess we'll leave that for.
Listen. I wish I could be as optimistic about what's going on presently at M&T Bank Stadium as I am about the future of Northwest Stadium.
Governor Wes Moore joining us on the Final Five. Sir, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks so much for your time.
And the Final Five is back after this.
The faces fade.